edition of the Corded Point podcast. It's early in the morning in Bombay and Varanasi. My friend Dave Tyagi is sitting in Varanasi, while I'm in Bombay, and we're going to be talking about a West Indian batsman sitting here in India. Isn't that cool? We are celebrating Shai Hope, who turns 29 today. I think tomorrow in the West Indies, but today in India. And Dave Tyagi is a massive fan. Massive is an understatement, but he's just a fan with big heart. So, Shai Hope, Dave Tyagi, Pranay Rangra at the Corded Point
and Varanasi.
podcast and Varanasi and the Ganga Ghats. Okay, so Dave
Hi, Pranay.
Tyagi. Hi Dave, hi Dave.
Thank you for the very inspiring morningy introduction. And I would like to begin this podcast by wishing the birthday boy Shai Hope, जो अब 29 साल के हो चुके हैं, उतने बच्चे नहीं रहे थे. A very very happy birthday to Shai Hope. And yeah, I mean, special day for a very very special batsman. And the only thing I want to say besides delving into other details, which we shall certainly, is that at a time where the West Indies need to look within themselves so that they can really realign with the values that always made them what they were in the past. There couldn't be a better time and there couldn't be a better place to reflect on a cricketer in whose talent uh, there's a certain certainty than wishing Shai Hope all the best from Varanasi, because this is a place of spiritual dwelling. And on that note, I just want to say that we've always said a lot of cliches about this amazing West Indian batsman that do not shy away from hoping because Shai Hope is here. But unfortunately, Shai Hope is not even there in the Test squad, as my dear friend Pranay Rangra pointed out. And I'm talking about the soon to be held two Test series against Australia in Australia.
No test series, that's
And I think Pranay he's earned it, but we will
right.
come
So you're
down
saying
to that.
he's earned to not be selected in a test board. So that's
Yes, he's
also an
earned that.
earning of sorts.
That's an earning of sorts. It's the kind of
Wow.
birthday gift you don't. But we should come to that later. I want to first ask, and I know that it's me on this side that who has to speak a lot about Shai Hope today. Not that you shouldn't and you can't, because I'm sure even you hold him in some regard. You've seen some of the shots he plays,
Yeah.
some of the ways in his inning. But I want to ask you that before you go on to ask me questions, when was the first time you saw Shai Hope, and what did you get impressed by?
I think Dave, it was the 2017 West Indies tour of England. Uh, I think they were playing a day and night test, and this guy just sort of captured my imagination by hitting those cover drives against Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad and Ben Stokes. And I think West Indies went on to win that test match, if I'm not mistaken. There was Shea Hope
Yes,
also, and there was his brother Kyle Hope also.
Kyle Hope also played in that match, but the
Yeah,
definitive partnership between Craig Brathwaite and Shai Hope.
yeah.
And by hitting centuries in both innings of the Test match at the Rose Bowl, the West Indies actually created history of sorts. And Shai Hope did something remarkable in that no batsman in the 127th year of cricket being played at that historic venue had ever hit a century in both innings, which is when Hope came and made the West Indies realize that, hey, you don't have to shy away from Hope. But, Pranay, my main thoughts about Shai Hope in the past 2 to 3 years have obviously gravitated more towards his white ball career, because that is where he is making news. It is very, very unfortunate that a batsman of his caliber, and if he were to hypothetically listen to what we are saying right now, he would also agree that after having given the worldwide audiences, the globe-trotting cricket fan, a glimpse into his marvelous craft, he really hasn't been able to live up to that potential. And that potential is is unfathomably good at the test level. But what impresses me about Shai Hope is that he always constantly manages to touch his ODI batting average to a 50, to the 50 mark. He's even scaled it northerly. I think he did reach the 52, 51.5, 51.7, 51.9 mark. And as you and me speak today on his 29th birth anniversary, his average is around 49. It's come
Yeah.
down to 50. There have been many, many reasons that have led to this. And I think West Indies' reputation.
Yeah. If I may just add to that, the only thing that we are reaching 50 on is our age.
Yeah. When it comes to my 50, I think there's already another zero after the first zero. So this is Deepa Tyagi from Varanasi. So yeah, but I agree. But Pranay, I think if somehow the West Indies were able to lift themselves up, and I don't mean do some gym training in a gymnasium by lifting weights, but if they were to actually lift the weight over here and take off from themselves a pretty amateurish band of cricket which they have horribly been responsible for, there's no reason why that average which is right now touching 50 can again get into 50, 55, and maybe even touch 60, because he's a world class player. And right now we have to face facts that around Shai Hope there are classical batsmen who may have the talent. Unfortunately, they do not have the skill set and the temperament to forge something superior out of it. Now, who are these players I'm talking about? Nicholas Puran, little doubt about his capability, very little doubt about the kind of shots he plays. Um, Shamar Brooks, Kyle Mayers. So there is an interesting crop of players around Shai Hope. But the main man is Shai Hope. He's expected to carry the mantle of batting. And I would like to draw your attention towards something which the respected Ian Bishop said. I think he's been of this view since the past couple of years, and he's entitled to his opinion, and he must be because he's a reviewer in this great game of ours. He said that he does not believe in the concept of a batsman playing an anchor. But you know what? Shai Hope's job is to play the anchor. What do you have to say to that? I mean, I'm just asking as a friend. What is your thought to that?
I think every team has an anchor. Like for South Africa, the anchor for the longest time has been David Miller in the T20 format. It's been maybe Quinton de Kock and Rajiv van der Dusen in the ODI format. So likewise, Demba Bavuma has been an anchor in the Test format. So for West Indies, if the hope comes from Shai Hope in the ODI format and he's the anchor, I mean, what can be better? But having said that, what amuses me is that, like, while we were discussing the Southampton exploits of winning the test against England, what went so drastically south in his test career after that? And how did he
Um,
just become a white ball player?
well, let me start off with the positive. I'm glad that at least he became a specialist in a particular format, which is white ball cricket, which is still one of the mainstays of this glorious game of ours, Pranay. But yeah, to answer your question, uh, I don't know, because I remember it was, if you remember correctly, during the peak of COVID, when cricket had to resume, Test cricket had to resume. The team which was responsible for resuming it was actually West Indies, rather
Yeah,
West Indies and England. And you
that's true.
remember when West Indies, England, and they played those three Test matches, I believe. I remember clearly it wasn't a four-match Test series. Those were three Test match series. And I still remember Shai Hope making those beautiful 15s and 25s and 28s and 31s or 27s. And there was nothing wrong in his game. There was,
Mm.
I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm certainly not a fanboy. I'm not a keyboard warrior. And I don't really think that cricket is a game where batsmen and bowlers and fielders are warriors. They're just cricketers, okay? So, to my untrained mind, there doesn't seem to be anything lacking except the fact that he just needs to have that one big inning, that one big elusive inning, Pranay. through which he can just announce himself back. Not that he's gone, but he really, I would say, and this is a fan saying, by the way, and despite being fans, our moral responsibility is to stay neutral. But if I was to discount that value, I want him back in at the test level. He belongs there. He's proven himself there. But he shouldn't get there just because hypothetically in future some cricketer gets absent or somebody gets injured. He has the potential to show, but does he have the numbers besides that glorious 2017 knock? He doesn't even have those numbers right now. You can just do a Google check or whatever. I don't think his test batting average is even 30. I
It's
can change my
25.
name. Right.
25.
I was about to change my name to Devdeep Damle if my so वही है यार. He has to. He is there a technical fault for sure, but the West Indies coaches, rather the lack of it, because it doesn't really seem that the team still has a coach who's actually a coach. They need to work with him. He needs to pick up the phone, dial a Brian Lara, dial a Sir Vivian Richards. Okay, go to Sobers, the legend Sobers. Okay, sit at his feet, because when you meet a giant, you do not stand like this. Okay, you sit like this. You humble down. He's a great guy. Shai Hope's heart is at the right place. He's an amazing man. He's a very nice person. He believes in hard work. He believes in rigor. I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman called Dario Bartley, and he was associated with the West Indies cricket team at the recent Road Safety World Series. And we had a quick conversation about Shai Hope and this very bright man Dario. He told me that Shai Hope is one of the finest batsmen that we have. And the future belongs to those who try today. So if Shai Hope really tries hard today, there's no stopping him, man. I mean, look at his insane numbers. I think in the year 2019 in white ball cricket, he had in excess of 1,000 runs in that calendar year. It was also, let us not forget, his maiden appearance at the ODI World Cup in England,
Yeah.
which was won by his country. But and then he has been making runs, if not at that with that ferocity that was evident in 2019, but he has been very, very consistent. Yeah.
What about his T20 career, Dave? Why is that not taken off the way it should have?
Pranay, there is no reason why Shai Hope cannot be tried at the T20 level. Not that he hasn't played T20 internationals. He has very little to show there because he just hasn't been given enough opportunity. I remember he made a very impactful half century, was it? Or was it a 40 against Afghanistan? And that attack had Mujib. That attack had
Hmm.
Rashid. I think that match was actually at in India, not very far away from where I am. I think it was in Lucknow at the Atal Bihari Stadium. And yeah, and Shai Hope was there. So I don't see how he cannot be the perfect big hitting Kyle Mayers at the other end. If, for instance, the West Indies were to try an opening pair with Shai Hope and Mayers opening in a T20 international, yeah, it's the perfect, not the perfect, okay, there's nothing called perfect, but it seems to be the seemingly ideal left and right hand combination.
Yeah. Dave, do you think the West Indies lacks consistency in selection?
I think the West Indies need to spell the word consistency first in order to understand what consistency means. And I'm not into boxing, I don't want to box them, but it is about time that they raise their hands and actually issued an apology to fans. And the apology should not only just come from players, it should come from the entire coaching staff, the cricketing system, which is responsible for running this beautiful culture, this cult called the West Indies. Because let's face it, they crashed out in this World Cup, right? They
Hmm.
crashed out horribly. There were people who were sad, Pranay. They weren't making fun of West Indies. They were sad. Of course, you
Yeah.
can make you can make fun of anybody. I'm sure the world. I'm sure I can stoke an emotion in you right now by saying that the Joker's choked, but I would not want to play it like that. But the West Indies system definitely needs to write a handwritten public apology. to all the fans for having let uh, this magnificent assortment of individual islands who have actually let themselves down for now 2.5 decades. Because I dare say during Mr. Brian Lara's time, during Mr. Shivnarayan Chandrapal's time, the team may still have looked weak, but man, they fought, they battled hard. You know, if Lara would get out for a duck, Chandrapal Sawan would steady the innings. Vice versa, Lara would be at one end, Lara would be doing the his brilliant cracker of an innings. Sawan would, he would just spoil the other bowlers. Hooper was there. Sherwin Campbell was there. The man with that enigmatic smile behind which what lay, who knows. The man whose batting basically conveyed the essence to me that batting was just about square cuts, and he was such a
Yeah.
good cutter. क्या आपने उनको कैची खरीदी है कभी? I don't know. So in those days, the West Indies used to try. This West Indies in the past 15 years, they capitulate. So am I trying to insult them? Not at all. I love the West Indies. But it is about time that they do not become the island of capitulation West Indies. There is no dearth of talent. In Rovman Powell, that innings that Rovman Powell played along with Nicholas Puran in India in the T20 earlier this year, they almost took India completely down. That guy can hit. He can hit a 60 of 23. He can hit a 50 of 27. Akil Hussain, when West Indies went to Pakistan earlier this year for the for the 3-match ODI series, I believe it was, where Shai Hope, by the way, opened the series with a magnificent century against the likes of Haris Rauf and Shaheen Shah Afridi. Akil Hussain, top scored in an ODI. He made 60 of 37 deliveries. That was insane batting. The same Akil Hussain almost took down England single-handedly in a T20 earlier this year in the Caribbean. Akil Hussain, by the way, and viewers, we will come back to Shai Hope. He is one of the most profoundly important stories from the West Indies. But again, I'm not saying that this podcast is about Pranay, Rangra and Tyagi saying that he needs to get his due because man, his career has just started. But yeah, we need to talk more about the likes of Akil Hussain, to talk more about the likes of Alzari Joseph. Um, I don't know why, you know, Roston Chase was suddenly brought into the T20 format, suddenly done away with. Was he trying to act in a biopic or on Morgan Freeman? I don't know. Was hanging out in a bar? He can play the young Morgan Freeman, but you just cannot do selection like this. You just cannot bring Roston Chase in a T20 World Cup at the back of a CPL heroic and talking about the 2021 thing, and then he doesn't get to play every single game, and then he fails. So are the selectors selecting the right brain cells? Only they can answer that.
It's a little sporadic.
Yeah.
So they've come into Shea Hope and his 2022 DI exploits. Three centuries, one against Netherlands, one against Pakistan, and one against our very own India. So how has that been for him? And what are your 2 cents on that?
It's been a good year for Shai Hope in cricket, but has it been an exemplary year? The batting average of 35 does not seem to. But again, he has been making runs, and when you can actually make a century against India, Pakistan, I don't mind the Netherlands, man. Why
No,
not?
no.
The Netherlands,
Netherlands is a good team, yeah.
they
They've
are a very
thrown a certain team out of the World Cup. They're awesome. My heart beats for Netherlands, please.
your T-shirt is not orange as yet. I need a
It's
Hindutva
become
T-shirt,
orange. Yeah.
right?
It's orange in my mind.
Right, orange in my mind. Oh wow, चाय में मिरिंडा डाला है क्या? बड़ा अच्छा है. So yeah, so Shai Hope has had a very good year, but it's not been an exemplary year in ODI cricket. Having said that, if you can manage in excess of 700 runs, you really haven't floundered, man. You really haven't failed. You've had a good year. But now at 29, he's at the peak of his powers. He's at the peak of his form. He's a fit cricketer. In 2021, also, I remember there was some beautiful centuries. I consider myself fortunate at having seen that century. I think it was in March in the Caribbean against Sri Lanka. That guy was flowing, yeah. There was Darren Bravo also at the other end. And the West Indies were playing very good white ball cricket. But this year again, Shai Hope has been guilty of playing innings that are rather slow. I think he actually did play an ODI in which he lasted for 100 deliveries and he made 51 runs. And it was not a book cricket match. Okay, it was actually a live cricket match. It was being broadcasted to tens of thousands of eyeballs around the world who are critical in this age of wham bam cricketing culture of batsmen who take their own sweet time. So again, credit to where it's due. Shai Hope has been amongst the runs. Can he up the ante of his ODI run scoring? He can. He has done that in the past. You can see with the strike rates, you can see with the averages. But runs have to flow from his bat consistently if the West Indies are to find that groove. Because guess what? There was a Hollywood movie. It's called How Stella Found a Groove Back. But can we have a movie called How West Indies Found That Lost Groove? The man responsible could be Shai Hope, one of the key linchpins to that.
And world cricket is far richer with West Indies and form. I must say that at least. So, Dave, if we can turn our attention for like 2 minutes on the T20 World Cup as things stand. So, Pakistan beat New Zealand yesterday. I think all the Indian cricket faithfuls and maybe world cricket at large is anticipating India to beat England. Do you think it's a scripted final of India versus Pakistan? And I need your honest opinion. And I have no
How
qualms
dare
in asking.
how dare how dare you ask that question? No, Baap hai ye, Kunai hai ye. And this is not Nasruddin Shah saying. No. Are you actually asking me that question live on this
I,
podcast?
I am.
One second. Sorry, just my lawyer is calling me. Okay, I can find a litigation. How much? 25 rupees in my bank account. I just can't really. I can't sue you. Shit. But I mean, I don't know, Pranay. I mean, those who may have scripted it, according to you, who can answer that. But I just hope that India win this World Cup for Virat Kohli. I think that guy deserves it. He's done a lot for Indian cricket, and it's time for the fanboys to just chill out and just behave themselves and not do stupidity of like actually in breaching his privacy to the extent that you actually go to his room here and you click pictures
Yeah,
and then you
that
nuts.
was very
But yeah,
uncalled for.
that's not done yet. That's not done. But I do hope that India reach the finals and they win it for Kohli. But if the if this game is scripted, I don't know, man. I have no idea. So I'm not saying no comments, but I'm just saying I have no idea. But today should be a good game, India versus England.
Yeah, for all the Indians and Englands, go for it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Um, Passport do you hold yourself? Is it green in color? Is it from is it from Johannesburg? Is it from Pretoria?
I can tell you it's certainly from the Milky Way.
It's certainly from the Milky Way.
Yeah. So
Parag
they've
Group ka pack.
you said that you hope that for Virat Kohli's sake, India wins the World Cup, and the guy we're talking about is also Hope. So, what hope do you hold for Hope going forward?
That he continues to play those beautiful forward defenses very well, which are very eye catchy, and that he returns to Test match cricket because he belongs there, whilst keeping up the ante of runs in white ball cricket. He's an all format player. I wish him all the best, as do tens of thousands of Caribbean loyalists. And by loyalists, I do not divided fans who think that Trinidad is better than Guyana, Barbados is better than Antigua, because at the end of the day, we are talking about one unifying identity, the unison of individual brilliant islands called the West Indies. So I hope that Shai Hope continues to pile on the runs. And it's an interesting time to be in form, as Shai Hope is, because the teams which the world took senile pleasure in deriding by calling them minnows are no longer minnows, okay? They have shown the mirror to those teams who made fun of them. So the likes
Oh,
of
definitely.
Ireland,
Most
the
definitely.
likes, you know, the likes of Ireland, Netherlands, Namibia, they're playing very good competitive cricket. Scotland is there. Uh, these are Zimbabwe is there. These are teams you should feel happy playing against. You should not feel, oh yeah, inke saath send a B team or let's just reserve our main players. Why, yaar? Why? Just take cricket seriously. If you're fit, just go out there and play. Yeah? You don't have to send your B grade team to play these teams because, damn, what happens is, and I would just like to quote an analogy which my father has always told me, कि when a storm comes, when a storm hits, the angry tree, which is full of arrogance, who stands erect, it is blown away. But the grass, it bows down gently. It knows to value challenges. It lets the storms go through, and it's there. It's not eroded, man. It's there. So these are bad times for West Indies. These are challenging times for West Indies. They should just bow down, accept their mistakes, come back stronger because they are here. They are here amongst us, and we love them. We love the West Indies, and we love you, Shai Hope. I do.
That's brilliantly said by Uncle, and so do we. Shai Hope, 29 years old. Dave, any further parting message as we end the podcast?
Shai Hope, do not part away from making those brilliantly fluent runs. Keep scoring them.
So, guys, this was Dave Tyagi and Pranay Rangra with another podcast on the Quarter Point Show. And every week we'll bring you something fresh, something exciting, something knowledgeable. And let's hope India wins the World Cup, guys.
Let's hope India wins the World Cup. Take care, guys.
Cheers,
Bye
Dave.
bye.